right, so I just did the 2-star alignment on my Celestron C-Gem mount, and I'm still on the focus screen. You can see I have my focus mask on the front of the scope, and I'm also using the crosshairs. If you see up top, I'm not connected to my mount yet through the ASIair app. I'm going to connect it shortly. Just wanted to show you how I focus. So if I put the bin on 4, you'll notice I get a wider field of view. So I stop it, I put it to bin 1, and that's how I focus. So now I'm going to loop it at 2-second exposures. I'm going to zoom in, and you'll see my nice focus mask. And the focus looks pretty good there. So now I'm going to stop the exposure. I'm going to remove the crosshair. And notice up top again, I'm not connected to the mount yet. So I just aligned my mount using the 2-star alignment. I didn't use any calibration stars because the plate solving is what's going to be using how I'm going to use my go-tos. So I'm going to back out of that and go into the telescope settings. You can see Celestron AVX, CGE, CGEM, CGX. I'm going to turn that mount connection on. It's going to prompt me to make sure I did my 3-star alignment. So now I'm all hooked up to the mount. I do not press the sync to mount on my tablet just because everything comes in through the hand controller. So now I'm going to go through, first off, I'm going to go to the settings for the ASIair. I'm just going to go down, make sure I'm on 5 gigahertz because I prefer the 5 gigahertz connection just so it's a faster speed, but it is a shorter distance. Go to camera. I make sure I'm connected, so I have my 294MC Pro connected. The focal length's 516 millimeters because I'm using the Hyperstar. My gain is 200. I'm using a Optolong, the L enhanced filter, so I like to use gain 200 with this filter. My cooling's on. It's set to negative 10 degrees Celsius, and you'll see I'm going to check in a little bit just to see the power consumption. If I'm less than 60%, I'll go up to negative 20 degrees Celsius. And you can customize the file names, but I'm not going to change that. So now I'm going to go into my guide camera. I'm using a 224MC. The focal length's 240. For guiding, I like to use the high gain, calibration step, max deck, max RA. I use 2000 and then 1000 for the duration. Dithering, if you want to go into dither and play around with the settings. I don't use dithering just because with the ZWO cameras, I find that I don't get the walking noise or any artifacts like that, so I just ignore the dithering. I'd rather capture images than waste time trying to let the mount settle and move the mount a little bit. And we already looked at the scope settings. If I was using a filter wheel, this is where it would be, and this is where it would be. You can choose which position you want. The EAF, the ZWO focuser, you can see I'm connected to that. I have my fine settings set to 300, coarse set at 10,000. Right now I'm not controlling it through the app. I have the hand controller that I'm controlling it. I find that I have much better control this way until the autofocus is released by ZWO. And you can see the storage settings. I have a brand new SD card, so it's already cleared. And the about, I'm using the new beta test ASIair 1.3 with the firmware 3.23. Okay, so now here, if you click on the preview button, you'll see you have the focus, the PA, which stands for polar alignment. You can go into the polar alignment screen, and start your polar alignment sequence, or you can go into the preview screen. And on the preview screen, this is where the plate solving is. So I'm removing my focus mask, and I'm going to take a 2-second image of the sky. And I'm on bin 1. And there you can. So now I'm going to go plate solve. And it took 2.8 seconds. My field of view 2 degrees by 1.45 degrees. I'm going to sync the mount, and it's success. So now it's synced to Sky Safari. I'm going to go in. Then I'm going to go into settings. I'll just show you the settings down at the bottom. I have the Celestron AVX CGE CGEM mount. It's all connected. So get out of that, go to scope, connect, and it's gonna bring me to the location that I'm synced to. And here's where I'm synced. So now tonight I'm gonna go to the Veil Nebula. Actually, for this exercise, I'll just go to something bright. So I'll go to the Dumbbell Nebula. And then bottom I click go to. Now you'll hear the mount slewing. You'll also notice that so now I'm going to go back into and I'm going to do a 2-second capture. And then I'm going to plate solve that. Sync the mount. This Sky Safari. And you can see I'm a little off there. So now all I do is pull back up the Dumbbell Nebula and go to. Now I'll go back to the Sky ASIair app, do another quick 2-second capture. And you can see right there it's centered. Now at the bottom you have a histogram. You can see you can brighten it up a little bit. It's pretty good. That's just a 2-second exposure of the dumbbell. And you can see it's pretty centered on the screen. So that's how I do it. Now I go into AutoRun. And then you have your screen set up for light. So if I do a 60-second sequence, 300 images, then I go up to name, change the name to dumbbell. Back. And then I can start capturing. To go to the guide settings, I go into, click on the guide box, go to my guide screen. I like to clear out my data, calibration data each time, so I clear it. Refresh the screen. I'm just going to adjust the focus a little bit on my turn it down to medium gain. Change my exposure just up to 3 seconds. There we go. So now that I'm on here, I'll click the crosshair and I'll start the calibration on it. All right, so now that the guiding calibrated, I'm guiding right now. On the right, you'll see my RMS error. It'll fluctuate a little bit. Up top, you have the deck aggression and the RA aggression, which is adjustable. I have it set at 30% and 50%. I'm just going to boost it up a little bit to 60 and 60, just to see what that does. And depending on how your graph looks and the values, you can adjust that to how you would like to use it. So I'm happy with those numbers. I like to be under 2 for the total RMS error. Some people are a little bit more picky, but I'm using the Hyperstar, so it's about 516 millimeter focal length, so I'm not shooting high focal length, so it doesn't have to be that precise. So now I get rid of the guide just because I don't like to have it take up space. And on the left side, I'll just go through this real quick. This is the focuser. So if you want to use the focus, you have the fine and coarse. The coarse is up top, fine is the lower one above the square. And then same thing, reverse focus. The guide box, toggle it on and off. The plate solve, the crosshair. And that's it. So now if I wanted to start my sequence, I could start counting down and capturing 360-second images, because that's what I have it set on, 360-second images on my sequence. So that's just a quick and raw and dirty video just to show how I get the ASIair set up. I've seen some people struggling and some people not connecting the mount properly, so I put this together real quick just to help others. All right, have a good night and clear skies.